Hey guys, today we're going to talk about working with inequalities. An inequality can be defined as a relation between two expressions that are not alike. So instead of an equal sign, we can use the greater than arrow or the less than arrow, the greater than or equal to arrow, or the less than or equal to arrow. Some things that we can do with inequalities would be to graph them on a number line. So when we're graphing, it depends upon which inequality symbol we're using and how we graph them. If we are using a greater than or less than sign, we're going to use an open circle. If we are using a greater than or equal to sign or a less than or equal to sign, we're going to use a closed circle. So with our first example here, we have x is less than 3. Since this is a less than sign, we're going to use an open circle. That's to say that 3 is not part of the solution set for that inequality. So we will start at 3 here, and we will draw an arrow from that circle to the left-hand side, noting that all numbers that are less than 3 will work for that inequality. With this one here, we have x is greater than 5. Again, we have a greater than symbol, so we're going to use an open circle. We're going to include all numbers that are greater than 5, and that could include decimal numbers like 5.1 or fractions like 6.5. With this one down here, we have x is greater than or equal to 2. So since we're using a greater than or equal to 2, we're going to draw a closed circle here. And you may wish to remember that if you draw the little line underneath the inequality arrow, that means that there's a closed circle. So this is also to say that we are including 2 in this. So for this one, any number 2 or larger will be part of that solution set. And then this one down here, we have x is less than or equal to negative 6. So again, we have a less than or equal to that we're going to use a closed circle for that at negative 6, and we're going to draw it to the left, and that's including all numbers that are negative 6 or less. And if you notice on all of these, the variable is first, and whichever direction the arrow is pointing in is the direction that the arrow goes on the number line. Another thing that we can do with our inequalities is solve them. And we can solve them like we did with equations. The only difference is there is not an equal sign. So we have x minus 5 is greater than 8. Here we can add 5 to both sides and get x is greater than 13. Then we need to go over and graph it. So we have a greater than symbol. We're going to use an open circle and draw the arrow to the right. So any number greater than 13 will work. Y plus 7 is less than or equal to 4. Subtract 7 from both sides. We end up with y is less than or equal to negative 3. Less than or equal to implies a closed circle here, and any number negative 3 or less will work for that inequality. When we get to multiplying and dividing, there's a special rule that we need to keep in mind, and that is when we are multiplying or dividing on both sides of the inequality by a negative, the inequality symbol will change directions. So here we have negative 3x is less than or equal to 6. When we divide both sides by negative 3, that will change the direction of this inequality. This less than or equal to will then become a greater than or equal to. So we're left with x is greater than or equal to negative 2. So again, when we go and graph it, it is a closed circle because it is greater than or equal to, and any number negative 2 or larger will work for that. On the bottom here, we have x divided by 4 is greater than or equal to 7. To get rid of the fraction, we multiply by 4 over 1 on both sides, and we're left with x is greater than or equal to 28. Now notice here Although I did multiply, there was no negative that I was multiplying by on both sides, so the inequality symbol did not change directions. And when we go graph it, we start at 28. It is a greater than or equal to, it is a closed circle, so any number 28 or larger will work for that. We can also work with some complex inequalities. Okay, here we have 3w plus 5 is less than 4w plus 10. So with this one, we can subtract 3w from both sides, be left with 5 is less than w plus 10. Subtract 10 from both sides, be left with negative 5 is less than w. Now most of these examples that we've done have had our variable first. This one does not. We need to be careful when we're graphing this. I suggest to you to put this variable first just because that's what we're used to seeing. So here I've rewritten negative 5 is less than w, and I've drawn a dotted line here to imitate a mirror. So we're going to make a mirror image of this on the other side, variable first. In this case, the w is going to come first. If we look at our inequality sign here, the pointy side is pointing at the number, the large side is pointing at the variable. Over here, the same thing is happening. The large side's pointing at the variable, the pointy side's pointing at the number, so that mirror image thing will actually keep things the way that we need them. So negative 5 is less than w is also the same thing as w is greater than negative 5. So we come down here to graph it. We start at negative 5. It is a greater than symbol, so that means it's an open circle, and we are looking for numbers larger than negative 5. So any number larger than negative 5 will work for that solution, for that inequality. Okay, folks, we will get some practice on this in class, and I will see you there. Whoosh!